Hey, Richard Bryce here, tennis hacker. In this video, I want to give you my 3 keys to developing a high quality attacking high forehand. Now this was a shot I struggled with a lot when I was younger. The problem back then was more to do with my skill. I wasn't basically skillful enough to execute in the way that I needed to. I was able to fix that using brain-based training, and I'll talk about that more at the end of the video. But what I want to focus on at the start is the technical side of things, because more recently I've been relearning to play left-handed after injuring myself in a mountain bike crash. So the high forehand is one of the shots that I've been paying a lot of attention to, and I finally got it to the point where I'm confident I can start to execute it in matches. So I want to break down the the 3 fundamental pieces that have allowed me to get there, because hopefully it'll help you. If you do find the video helpful, it'd be awesome if you could give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel before, much appreciated if you could do that as well. The first key piece for me is going to be loading properly as part of your preparation. Now generally on these higher balls you're going to be setting up in a semi-open or open stance. The key is going to be loading that outside hip. So obviously left-handed, it's my left hip that I'm loading, but most people watching this are right-handed, so that's what I'm going to demonstrate with. So as you do the unit turn, you know exactly where the racket goes, how you prepare, that's more of a unique style thing. I do it in a certain way, but that's not quite so important. The important part is that you load into this hip. So think about your belly button rotating towards the hip, because I'm going to be driving through like that. So making sure you get a good load into the hip, a good torso rotation, because when you're hitting these high balls, often there's not too much pace on them. So you've got to generate your pace yourself. So you've got to be very efficient with the biomechanics. And in order to use good biomechanics, you've got to load properly at the start. So that's the first key that I've had to get used to, is really setting up and loading through my outside hip, my left hip, but for most of you, the right hip. So then you can drive into the ball efficiently using your kinetic chain. The next key is going to be all about the spacing. So setting up far enough away from the ball. On these higher forehands, you need to be much further away than you are when you're hitting a low forehand. So a low forehand, maybe I can afford to be this distance away. On a high forehand, it needs to be out there somewhere. So for me, coming from being a right-handed player with a one-handed backhand, where the contact point is this far away, to now being a left-handed player hitting the forehand, you can see how much further that is away. So it's something that I've really had to focus on within my practice, just thinking about that spacing. And it's better to be a little bit further away than you think. You can always make up the ground by attacking into the ball. You can sometimes pull away, but it's a little bit harder. So additional space is going to be beneficial, but at least making sure that you've got enough space to allow you to swing efficiently. And then the third key piece is really going to be the timing, and that's the linchpin of all strokes. It's the hardest part. So in terms of timing, we've got the sequencing of the kinetic chain, so your coordination timing of driving through the hip, followed by the torso, and then the arm and the racket coming through. So we've got the timing in that sense, and then we've also got the timing in relationship to where the ball is, because you have to efficiently use your kinetic chain and get a good contact point out in front of you. It's something that a lot of players struggle with, is hitting the ball late. It's something that I used to struggle with when I was younger, and it's something that I've definitely struggled with now I'm switching to playing left-handed, is getting this good contact point out in front. And that means making sure that you start your hip drive soon enough. And the reason that that's difficult is because every single shot that you deal with is different. So you have to accurately read the flight of the ball, predict how it's going to bounce and react off the court, so that you can start your swing at the appropriate time, so you can drive through that hip to start using the kinetic chain. And you have to do that at the right time on every single shot. So relearning to play left-handed, again, coming from being a right-handed player with a one-handed backhand, the timing of the hip drive and the position of my torso relative to the contact point, changing from that to now that, it's very different. So it's taken me a lot of repetitions to practice the timing, feeding myself different high balls with slightly different spins, slightly different trajectories, so that my brain can build up a memory bank of what the flight of the ball means. So then I can hopefully read that more quickly, judge it, and drive through the hip and start the swing at the correct time to then get the sequencing of the kinetic chain. So that's my third key. It's all about that timing component, but obviously that's one of the hardest things in tennis. Now, in addition to the work that I do on court to try and develop my technique and getting good quality repetitions, I also do work off the court to improve how my body functions. And this was one of the big things that I had to do when I was younger. Like I said at the start of the video, I never used to be able to hit a good high forehand with my right hand because my timing sucked. I wasn't very good at reading the flight of the ball, so I tended to get too close to it, and then my coordination wasn't good enough, so I couldn't sequence my kinetic chain properly. What I did to fix all that stuff was use brain-based training to improve my visual processing speeds, to improve my ability to judge distance and depth and to track the ball, and to improve my coordination. By doing that, I was able to get to a significantly higher level with my right hand, and then now that I'm learning to play left-handed, I continue to develop my vision, develop my coordination to allow me to learn more quickly. If you'd like to learn how to do that within your game, I've created a free class that's going to teach you all about it. I'll place a link to the class up there. I'll place a link to the class down in the description. Click on either of those links, you can watch the class, and hopefully it'll be really useful to you. If you have any questions about what I've talked about today, the technical side of things, leave me a comment below and I'll get back to you as quick as I can.